I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I'm Jay Boisseau. I'm the director here at the Texas Advanced Computing Center at the University of Texas at Austin. And we are very pleased to have you join us today for a tremendous announcement. The University of Texas has been selected through a competitive peer review proposal process to receive an award to deploy a next-generation world-class supercomputing system in early 2013. This system has more performance potential than any current system in the world, with a peak performance capability of about 10 petaflops. It's being done in conjunction with some of our longtime partners at Dell and Intel, with whom we have been building leading-edge high-performance computing clusters since 2003. So we've actually been on the national scene for a long time, and together with Dell and Intel, we continue to up the ante every few years. This new award for a system called Stampede further ups the bar by becoming, as soon as it's deployed, one of the most powerful computing systems in the world. We also think it will be one of the most usable systems in the world. It builds on the expertise here at the Texas Advanced Computing Center and in the science community and in the Linux community and with our technology partners to provide a user environment that builds on the successes of Lone Star 2, 3, and 4 that we've received great acclaim for having and hosting here at the University of Texas as well. We also designed this as a very comprehensive system. So whereas these supercomputers have been complemented by separate visualization systems and analysis systems, Stampede will be one of the first petascale science systems that fully integrates visualization capabilities and large shared memory capabilities into a massively parallel performance computing system. So we're very excited about this project, and we have a number of speakers here today to provide some comments on the context of how important this is, not just to TACC and the University of Texas, but how important it is to the US and society as a whole. I'm very pleased to introduce as the first speaker, President Bill Powers of the University of Texas at Austin.
Well, thank you, Jay. Thank you all for being here. I can say it's a delight in many reasons. One reason to talk about something other than conferences. But this really is what makes this a great university. It is a wonderful, wonderful day. Certainly for TACC and for the whole team here at TACC and Jay and all your group. It's a great day for UT, both in and of itself and to show the kind of power that our research here at UT can do. But as Jay said, it's also a great day for Texas and for the world of science and engineering and the intersection of fields that are so increasingly dependent on really powerful computing power. So this is a wonderful, wonderful day for our university. And it doesn't happen without a lot of hard work. And I just want to thank the people that have made this happen. And first and foremost, the people here at TACC. And it's a team, but embodied by Jay Boisseau. Jay, you know, it seems like every time I come out north, which is often, out here to TACC, you've hit another home run. And I can't tell you how much honor and how proud we are of what you've done, what TACC has done, what the University of Texas now represents, you know, just the leading place for academic computing. And that's happened in 10 years. It's happened while you've been here. I know there was a lot of very ambitious talk when you were brought in. Just make it the best. And here we are, 10 years later. A decade is a very short period of time in this world. And I know computing changes, but structures and organizations, for you to have done this and all of your colleagues out here at TACC, I think we owe Jay a sign of our gratitude. Now this really rocket that has taken off over the last 10 years. It doesn't run without fuel. And we have partners who have done a tremendous amount to help give us that fuel. And I'd like to thank some of them. First, to the National Science Foundation. Without the grant, without that funding, this would not be possible. So we want to thank them, and also the faith that they have in TACC and the University of Texas, that this is where they're going to be investing their resources. It's a good investment for them because of what TACC is and has become. But to everyone at the National Science Foundation, I just want to say we are deeply and profoundly grateful. Dell, John Mullen is here. John? I want to say that, like so many projects that we've worked on together, certainly in computing, but elsewhere across the university, from the Dell Pediatric Research Institute to the photographic collection, and we could go on and on. What a great source of pride it is for UT that Michael Dell was here, and look what he's created, and then with his foundation, but with one of the world's leading companies in innovation. Not only is this essential to make it work, but we're proud to have that Longhorn and the Dell logo together. That's a very powerful brand that we are very, very proud of. I hope you'll tell Michael just how profoundly grateful we are for what you've done. And Intel, Tony.
Representing Tony Nash.
Oh, you're representing Tony. I knew that as soon as it came out, but then I was like a deer caught in the headlights. So thank you. You're very gracious. But also with Intel, that's also a world leader, and to have TACC, University of Texas, Dell, Intel right up there says that we're in it with the right people. So we're very grateful to you and to Intel as well. And then coming back to what this does for us, UT is now at the crossroads of scientific engineering and computing research, not just for our faculty, bringing people from different disciplines together to solve problems they could not have even dreamt of asking before, both Lone Star and Ranger, and now to carry on that tradition, Stampede. But scientists from around the world, right? They're thinking of projects, and they're thinking, how can I use that resource in little old Austin, Texas, to solve some of the world's great engineering and scientific research. So I am looking forward, Jay, to the groundbreaking, to just seeing the machine, but then, of course, what is really critical and what really is the payoff are the questions about the world we live in that were almost unthinkable to ask. We're going to know the answers to those questions. So it's a proud day, and I just want to say I'm delighted to be here to share in it. Thank you very much.
We all owe President Powers tremendous thanks here at TACC. Probably the most nervous I was in the process for competing for this, it wasn't actually writing the proposal and beating other institutions. We're all very confident here at the University of Texas. The most nervous part was when we had to go and ask President Powers for support for a data center. And I have to say, it was unflinching support. It was instant, it was solid, and without President Powers' leadership and without his understanding of the importance of advanced computing in making this the #1 public university in the country, by providing the resources that all of the science and engineering programs can use to make groundbreaking discoveries, this wouldn't be possible. It really is critical in times of building these ever larger supercomputing systems to have institutional support like we're fortunate to have here at the University of Texas. And speaking of the University of Texas, I want to introduce the second speaker, Professor Omar Gattas. Omar is a professor of geological sciences and of mechanical engineering, and he's the director of the Center for Computational Geosciences in the Institute for Computational Engineering and Sciences. He probably has 3 or 4 other titles that I've forgotten at this point, because he really is the Mr. Do-Everything, I should say the Dr. Do-Everything in computational science. We were very pleased to recruit him to the University of Texas. He's been a tremendous researcher in using high-performance computing and an advocate for the importance of high-performance computing. So with that, Dr. Omar Gattas.
Thank you, Jay. Well, I'm here representing the scientific and engineering community across the country and worldwide that will benefit from a system like this. And this is really an exciting day. This is an order of magnitude leap in computational resources that we're talking about. And so imagine in your own work, you know, if you're a race car driver and suddenly you had a race car that was an order of magnitude faster. So it's a huge potential. But I get asked often, what sort of science is going to run on a system like this? How are we going to use this machine? And the answer is, and I'm not being facetious here, everything. You know, there is not a field of science or engineering that's supported by the National Science Foundation that doesn't benefit from supercomputing. I think Faith gave me 2 minutes to talk. I could spend a week here talking about this. But I'll speak very broadly. Whether we're talking about modeling hurricanes, storm surges, or understanding climate change, or predicting the consequences of earthquakes, these are all geological problems, or if we move to biology, modeling the human cardiovascular system as a surrogate for planning surgical procedures, or understanding tumor growth, or fundamental physics discoveries in astronomy and basic physics, engineering, designing new materials, designing better shapes of aircraft. There isn't a field that is not touched by supercomputing. But let me speak broadly in 3 categories of problems that will benefit from a system like this. Number 1, problems that need more resolution. Okay? Lots of problems out there where we've got the physics in our models, but we don't have enough resolution. Think of resolution like a camera, right? You have 2 megapixels and 4 and 10 and 20. We don't have enough resolution in many problems. As an example, climate models historically have run at 100-kilometer resolution. And with systems like this, we can look at much finer resolution, which lets us then represent the underlying physics rather than approximate them. Right, that's one category. Second category are problems where we maybe have enough resolution, but we just don't have all the physics in these models. Okay, I'll take an example from some of the work my group is doing in modeling the flow of Antarctic ice sheets. So ice flows off the continent and into the ocean, and this is the thing that contributes to sea level rise, right? This is the fundamental mediator of sea level rise. So how is the Antarctic ice sheet responding to climate change? We're creating very sophisticated models right now. They're running actually on Lone Star and Ranger, but we don't have the physics at the base of the ice sheet fully in there. It's an approximation right now. So a machine like Stampede will let us put more of the physics at the base of the ice sheet, where there's a complex interaction between ice and rock and underlying fluids. We'll be able to represent that on the computer and solve those equations rather than approximate them. The third category, so more resolution, more physics. The third thing you want to do often, and we will be able to do with a machine like Stampede, is to do the simulations many times. Now, why do we want to do this? Well, if we're doing decision making, or if we're trying to understand uncertainties, right? All of these models have inputs, and these inputs could be uncertain. So rather than having a deterministic input, we get some kind of distribution. And so we have to run many, many simulations to represent this input uncertainty to predict, to issue predictions that are encoded with uncertainty. All right, so those are 3 broad classes of the kinds of problems that will benefit from supercomputing. Let me end on a personal note. Jay mentioned I was recruited here. I used to be at Carnegie Mellon University, which was home to one of the leading academic supercomputing centers, the Pittsburgh Supercomputing Center. I came to visit in 2004. I was recruited by Tinsley Oden and his group at the Institute for Computational Engineering and Sciences. Of course, the science and engineering programs at UT are top-notch. ISIS is a top-notch institute. But the only question I had was the supercomputing center. I mean, TACC was still, this is 2004. Well, I met Jay, and I think Bill was in the room at the time, and 30 minutes with Jay, it's all over. Done deal. You know, he's a force of nature, and you cannot help but get blown away by speaking with him. So on that personal note, I'll stop, and I think there'll be time for questions afterwards. We can get into more of the details of any of the physics problems that we expect to run on this system. Thank you.
So as you can read in the press release, we expect Stampede to support over 1,000 diverse computational science projects. It's not clear to me that Omar won't get involved in every single one of them sometimes. He's really amazingly talented and productive computational scientist, and we're very fortunate to have him here as part of the team that will help make sure that we're providing Stampede and it's operating as effectively as possible for people to do groundbreaking science. The next person I want to introduce is John Mullen. A little bit of background on this. When I evaluated coming back to the University of Texas to take the job of trying to build a world-class center here, and it really wasn't much evaluation, because if you've ever been to school here and you get a chance to come back and do something for the university, you're probably going to do it. But I was still pretending with myself that maybe I'll evaluate it and see if this is a challenge I want to take on, when in fact I knew in my heart absolutely I did. One of the things I considered was the presence of Dell and how the opportunity of working with one of the world's leading technology companies at the very beginning of cluster computing and seeing if we could develop a strategic partnership with Dell that would enable TACC to go from a center that nobody had ever heard of to a center that everyone was trying to emulate. And I met people like Steve Sofhauser and George Jones in the early days, and we talked about what we would do. And through them, I got to meet John Mullen and understand that the interest in high-performance computing goes up to very high levels in Dell. And in fact, Michael Dell has spoken at a couple of our events before. So I'm very pleased to introduce a long-time now partner, long time at least in terms of our existence, John Mullen, who is the Vice President and General Manager for Major Public Accounts, Education, State, and Local Government. John?
We're really excited about this partnership and the opportunity to give researchers the power to make discoveries and uncover new solutions. As Jay mentioned, our partnership goes back to 2003. Actually, it was the deployment of Lone Star 2, as I recall. At the time, it was the first terascale Linux HPC cluster for the National Open Science community. And since then, we've worked together to deploy a whole series of robust high-performance computing systems. And the point I want to make here is that our partnership with Jay has benefited tremendously to the development of our technology. We implemented Longhorn, which was the most powerful GPU cluster in the world using Dell and NVIDIA. And then we implemented Lone Star 4 working with Jay, which was a 2,000 blade cluster, and I believe still the 28th fastest high-performance computer in the world. Then we implemented Stallion, which was the highest resolution Viswall in the world. 75 Dell 30-inch monitors and XPS workstations, soon to be upgraded. So there's this long history of joint innovation, which has been a really valuable element to our partnership. Stampede is just another step in our commitment to the open scientific research and to our partnership with Jay. It confirms UT's role as one of the world's supercomputing hubs. And Jay, I can promise you that we're committed to exceeding your expectations. So thank you again. We're really looking forward to the results that Stampede will deliver and on the promise that this provides and giving the scientific community the power to do more. Thank you very much.
For the final speaker, I want to introduce Nash Palaniswamy from Intel. We've been working with Intel actually since the first year of our operation. We deployed our first Intel-based Linux cluster at the very end of 2001. And in fact, that's so long ago, I'm not even sure I remember the name of it, but I think it was Tejas. We ran that system for a couple of years, and that really got us to talking to Intel more and learning about Intel technologies and their roadmap. One of the things you'll know from the press release about Stampede is it not only incorporates some soon-to-be-released but next-generation Xeon processors, it is going to be the first large-scale deployment of a new Intel processor technology of a special pre-release provided for this project to support national open science of the Many Integrated Core processor, or MIC for short. And through discussing the MIC processor technology and plans with Intel, we met Nash and got very excited by the things that Nash and Donnie and others from Intel were telling us about the opportunity for this processor to really facilitate groundbreaking science. And so while we haven't known Nash as long as we've been working with Intel, it's been a great relationship. We're very pleased to have him here today, and we really look forward to working with him in the years ahead as we deploy Stampede and optimize new generations and new classes of scientific applications for both the Xeon and Mike technologies. Nash?
Thank you, Jay. Good afternoon, everybody. Jay gave a very good introduction, but firstly, I'd like to start off by congratulating Jay, Texas, the people of Texas, and my son, too. He's 3 years old, but this is a great foundation for computing when he grows up. You know, I'm a Cincinnati Bearcat, but you know, he's going to grow up to be a Longhorn. And so this is great for the people of Texas and Austin. I've lived here for 14 years. I'm excited. But let me tell you a little story. 2 years back, I think we came and we talked about the Intel mini integrated core architecture with Jay. It wasn't called that at that time. And Jay was excited and he said, Nash, keep giving me the latest data on this particular architecture at every instant. And I think I've done that.
I think I said don't give anyone else the
He probably said that too. From an Intel standpoint, we're excited. We're extremely excited that Stampede has chosen 2 of our key technologies, Xeon processors and our Intel mini integrated core architecture. You know, Xeon has been the backbone of HPC. It's close to about 80% of the top 500. 90% of new entries in the last top 500 were Xeon-based systems. So we're very proud of the Xeon processors. The Intel mini integrated core architecture, it's a new architecture which is targeted at highly parallel workloads. The processor is codenamed Knight's Corner, our upcoming processor, but it's going to have greater than 50 cores. The potential that it has for highly parallel workloads is huge. Today, you'll have to do that across sockets or across nodes to get at that level of parallelism. But more importantly, these are x86 cores. So people will be using the same software paradigm that they used to with Xeon. So people can focus on scientific discovery and not on computer science. It's a key aspect of what the Intel mini integrated core architecture brings. So congratulations, and we're looking forward to the Xeon-based system and the Intel mini integrated core Stampede in 2013. Yep. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So these speakers represent the partners that have really been able to make this possible, but I also want to make sure and introduce the team that really did a lot of the legwork and provided the intellectual talent to evaluate the technologies and design a world-class system that was competed against systems from all of the other leading open science supercomputing centers in the country and won. I want to introduce Dr. Dan Stanzione. He's the Deputy Director here at the Texas Advanced Computing Center. Dan will be the project manager for Stampede. He will make sure that all of the deployment issues, the construction issues, and the support issues are all working together to enable the kind of science that we promised in our proposal. And that is science that spans domains, it spans fields. It's everything from climate modeling and weather forecasting to drug design and designing new materials. I also wanted to introduce Dr. Tommy Minyard. He's the Director of Advanced Computing Systems here. Tommy is the guy that makes sure that every system that I go out and beg for, promise, whatever, he actually makes sure they all work and they deliver as promised or better. A tremendous talent, a tremendous resource for the University of Texas, and I think he has at least 3 degrees from the University of Texas, like his cohort to the left, Dr. Carl Schultz, who will be the chief scientist for this project. Carl actually crosses from TACC, he works part for TACC and part for the Institute for Computational Engineering and Sciences. Carl brings expertise from designing systems all the way up to developing algorithms and applications that conduct computational science and engineering. So he will be crucial in how we work with researchers across the US as well as around Texas in determining how to design the policies of the system, what software to install in the system, how to best support the 1,000 projects that are trying to achieve groundbreaking discoveries on the system. And I also want to introduce Dr. Bill Barth, another multi-degree University of Texas graduate, who's the Director for High Performance Computing here at the University of Texas. Bill is an expert in parallel computing and makes sure that we are providing the right user environment for the researchers that want to take advantage of our powerful systems, providing the right software and, again, the right policies and the right kind of support to make sure they can do what they have chosen in their fields of research. Finally, I want to introduce Janet McCord. She's been with me here for the entire history of the center. In fact, she was with the history of the previous centers here at the University of Texas, and she really makes a lot of this happen. So we go out and make promises, we write proposals. Janet makes sure those proposals get in, that budgets get done, and then awards get made, and then we have the proper staffing to execute those awards. And that we get paid. Yeah, that's a pretty important one. So we really have a tremendous team here at the Texas Advanced Computing Center. I want to thank all of the staff. We have almost 100 staff and students here now. It's a tremendous team, and it really is a world-class team. I'm constantly complimented by my peers at other centers on the quality of the staff that we have here. UT plays an instrumental role in that. A large fraction of our staff have at least one degree from the University of Texas at Austin, although we do draw staff from all over the country and the world. And it's a great pleasure to be able to build a center like this at the University of Texas at Austin. And of course, I want to thank one more time Dell and Intel. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. This award is to deploy a world-class supercomputer. Dell and Intel are providing the technologies to make that possible. We also have a number of academic partners across the country that are part of this project. Cornell University and Clemson University are part of this, as is Indiana University and the University of Colorado. Ohio State University and the University of Texas at El Paso are also partners. There are individual experts at each of those 6 institutions that are part of the Stampede project and team and are committed, as are we, to making this a world-class resource and ensuring that 1,000 projects or more in different scientific domains use this over the course of its 4-year lifetime. So I want to thank all of our staff, the University of Texas at Austin, our technology partners, and our academic partners for what they've done to help us get to this point and in advance for the years ahead when we really fulfill the promises that we made in our proposal. And I want to say one last thing at the end about this. This is really not the beginning. We've had multiple systems with Dell and Intel that have been national systems. It's also not the end. The system gets deployed in January 2013. That's really the beginning of this system, when it's enabling scientific breakthroughs. But even that 4 years doesn't have to be the end of the project. We will use the expertise from this project to pitch the next large system. And in fact, the National Science Foundation, in writing the solicitation for this proposal, put in a clause that if this project is executed well, we have the option to double it, to extend it from 4 years to 8, and to provide an award for another system in 4 years so that we can support the science community for 4 more. We fully expect to exceed all of their expectations as well as the promises we made in our proposal. We're looking forward to get started, and I think the next step, Dan, is probably putting a shovel in dirt on the east side of the building. October 17th. So thank you all for coming. If you have any questions, we'll be around, and we really appreciate your support of the University of Texas, the National Science Foundation, and open science in general. Thank you.
I am not a computer person, but I report for people who are not computer people either. So how is this going to, eventually, how is this going to translate to their lives? The people out there who are using the computers, that kind of thing, or need medical help.
That's a great question. And I've referenced the fact that we expect there to be over 1,000 projects, and you might wonder where I came up with that number. And we come up with that number through experience of the systems, of the world-class systems that we provide here. So let me answer that question. It's going to take me a minute, but I'm going to give you some context for your readers. We now know that the universe and the processes within it are governed by mathematical equations. And we don't necessarily know why, but we know that it's true. And science is a process of attempting to uncover these governing equations, the laws that govern anything from gravitation to electromagnetics to the atomic forces in the atomic nucleus. As we determine those equations, we gain an ability to describe the world around us and predict its behavior. And then we can make things better, make transportation safer, make safer drugs. That's crucially important, except for the one thing. People are really good at figuring out the equations, but people are not very good at solving them fast and accurately. And that's why computing has become so fundamental to science. And so people are benefiting from computational science and engineering every day. In fact, you did on your way here when you took either a plane or a car. That was certainly designed and tested virtually on a computing system somewhere before a physical model was ever built. The weather forecast that you got today was calculated on a supercomputer. So computers are the most important general purpose instrument of science across fields, from biology and biomedicine to environment and geosciences. Obviously, we also support projects here that are more about the intellectual endeavor than about society directly. We support cosmology projects, understanding how the first galaxies were formed and how the first stars formed. And it turns out even that has a societal implication because most of what you're made of was produced in a star somewhere that blew up, enriched the interstellar medium, and formed into the star system that we call home. But lots of the research here has direct impact. So we have a number of projects in energy, not just new energy sources, although we have those, people trying to build and design more efficient photovoltaics and understand wind better to produce better wind maps, but also people looking at traditional energy sources and trying to figure out how to produce them more cleanly, create cleaner energy from the so-called dirty sources, so it has less environmental impact, as well as being able to produce it more cost-effectively. So the nature of the research here really spans all fields, and the best thing I could do for your readers is point them to the excellent science stories that our science writer, Aaron Dubrow, who's probably in here somewhere, has written. I think Aaron is the best computational science writer in the country, and his feature stories on our website are written for the audience you described, and they describe how Omar's work and others' work uses computing to push back the boundaries of science and the implications of doing so, why that was important and what difference that makes to all of us, not just the researcher.
Any more questions?
Jay, you might say a word about what this means for Austin's technology future with the university in the context of all the high-speed chip design companies here and what we're trying to work on those issues.
So I forgot to plant that question with Pike, but fortunately he remembered it from our discussions for many years. I once called Austin the capital of supercomputing, and we always think of it as the live music capital of the world, and no one ever really calls it the supercomputing capital of the world, but it's been true for 10 years, and it was the reason that I came here 10 years ago, or I take that back. It was one of the many reasons I came here 10 years ago, is that we have Dell here. We have a large branch of Intel here. We have a large branch of AMD here. We have a number of NVIDIA employees here. At the time, Sun was a major player in high-performance computing. They designed the Ranger system. We have a large number of Sun folks here. IBM Austin is one of roughly 10 IBM research labs worldwide, and they also make their processors for high-performance computing here. So the tech industry in Austin, we all know the tech industry is strong. What's not commonly known is the importance of Austin's portion of the tech industry in computational science and high-performance computing. But that's certainly been important to us here at the Texas Advanced Computing Center and the University of Texas at Austin. And so one of the things that we hope to do over the next decade is create more awareness of that, more collaboration on the long-term research issues that would benefit all of those technology companies and truly make Austin known as the place of innovation for processor performance and processor efficiency, power efficiency becoming a hugely important thing as well, and attract the best and brightest in the tech sector here to Austin, even more so than we already do now, as well as attracting the talents like Omar Gattas to the University of Texas to use those technologies. So I hope you'll hear more over the next year about plans Pike and I are cooking up and discussing in the background that we hope to bring to the foreground about creating something like an Austin Advanced Computing Consortium, because it really is the right place for that. I'm glad you remember that. Other?
Final questions before we wrap up?
Great. Thank you all again for coming, and a lot of our staff, if TACC staff could raise their hands, so you can grab the one nearest to you after this or find any of the ones you recognize and feel free to ask questions. Keep in mind there are certain things about the project that we cannot discuss. They are non-disclosure agreement details of the project that cannot be released until Dell and Intel can release them to the general public. So there are things that we may not be able to answer, but we can certainly answer lots of things about how we plan to execute the project and at a higher level why we pick these technologies and why we think it'll make this an exemplar for high-performance computing for the world. Thank you very much.